Showtime! Hello! Welcome to video number 3 in this series about artivism, art therapy, creative things to do in workshops. I apologize that Tuba can't be here today. She's working on some very important scholarship. And Carlene is our Steven Spielberg for today. So, I'll give a tiny little recap. This is video 3, and I'm preparing for a series of workshops. The workshops will be 3 sessions long. They'll be pop-in, so everybody could attend one of the sessions, or all 3, up to them. Free range. We will prepare kits, and we'll do a video on the kit total prep when we do the prep. But as I've said in previous videos and all my life as a professional helper person, don't do things to other people unless you do them to yourself first. And that way you get to have both the sort of spiritual, emotional, intellectual process, but also the practical process of, oh, that glue doesn't dry as quick as I thought, or oh, these wires break when you pull them too tight, or whatever it is. That's very important knowledge, because when you are delivering a workshop or doing one-on-one work with someone creatively, I believe it's very, very important to set them up for success. And by success, what I mean is that they are able to implement what they're wanting to implement. So it's about process. It's not success as in, oh, they finished their piece in 2 hours, or the tree that they painted looks exactly like a tree. But it's success in that if they say, I want to express something about my broken heart, and you explore with them what might that look like, what might you need, what colors would work, what shapes or textures, and they tell you that, and then you find those resources for them and or help them to see how the resources work. And I say the technology, meaning the simple things like, for example, and that's why I put this here, when you're doing art therapy stuff, creative stuff, I highly recommend you experiment. But some of these glues, for example, some really, really work well in that, I'll talk about this journal in a minute, but they wrinkle up the paper, and you don't want that. Some of them, if you're working with people with visual impairments, or who have poor or challenging hand-eye coordination.
And like dexterity.
Dexterity. There's glue sticks like this that are purple when you put them down, and then they dry clear. So that helps, and they can kind of go, yeah, big mess. Let's say if you're working with little kids, right? They can see the purple, so they know where they put the glue, and then they can put their piece of paper on top where it fits right with the glue. Matchy. Versus this particular glue stick right here is clear when you put it on, so you're not always sure where did it actually go. Did I put enough on? And as someone who now has to wear glasses, I'll be sometimes like really close up and trying to see the sheen. Did I get it where I wanted to get it? So there's just a little, when I say the word technology, that's the level of technology I'm talking here. Purple glue, clear glue, does it stick, and what does it stick to, right? So as I was telling you in the previous videos, the theme of this workshop that's coming up, and I'm going to walk my audience through this whole sequence right till the end of the workshops, and maybe a month or 2 after, to talk about what people took most from the workshops, and also what we learned from the workshops as providers, to see where we would improve if we did the same thing again. So for me, I'm doing this year, 2021, so the workshop theme is, we're calling it, what the fuck, joy? And why I'm calling it that is, that's my working title. I might edit that somewhere along the way. WTF, !/joy, ? In that people are going to be looking at the year behind, the year ahead. That's the sort of question we're asking people to reflect upon. And 2020 for me, because my husband died 9 months ago, and because of C-19, and because I've been forced to come home and teach from home, and I have, or had, 0 technological skills to do that. I was fortunate to find these 2 young scholars to teach me and help me set up on Blackboard and all this stuff. So it's been, for many people, 2020 has been a tough year, and some people have had, although I'm always whining and complaining, many people, of course, have had 1,000 times more misery this year, in that they may have had 1 or 2 family members actually die from C-19, or they themselves may have been sick from C-19. Some people have been tragically unfortunate in that they've lost their work opportunities, haven't been able to earn any money for the last 8 months, which puts them in tragedy and desperation for their rent money, all kinds of things. Some women have had their kids can't go to school, so their kids have been home with them. So you're at home with your kids homeschooling while you also have no money coming in and you're really stressed out. So for 2020 really has been for many people a massive what the fuck. And I think that it warrants swearing. 2020. My understanding is 12,000 people have died in Canada now. That's maybe 11,500. That warrants a what the fuck. That's really, really horrific. So
that, and at the end of that, you're still debating whether or not it impedes your rights to wear a mask outside.
Yeah, some people are just outrageously ridiculous. And also, we've just found out today that it may be until September or even November, a year from now, that everyone will have been able to get their inoculations and protect themselves, their vaccines, and so on. So not only are we looking as a collective group of women, and at this point it looks like there's about 20 women who might want to participate, so it might work out to be 20 in the first session, or it might be 10, 5, 5, we're not sure, and we leave it wide open. This is my style of working. Some art therapists, social worky type people are very vigilant about forcing people to register way ahead of time and pay, and I understand that. If you're booking a room and organizing meals and all kinds of stuff, or providing childcare, you need to know these things. But this particular sequence of workshops is completely free and completely ad hoc. So it's a different kind of format than might be for some others. And I want to say that this series of videos is about if you're a person new to planning workshops or using art therapy or artivism. I'm trying to give you some of the practical background stuff, because there can be a lot. It may feel like, oh, she delivered a 2-hour workshop, how hard can that be? But there might actually have been 10 really vigorous hours of planning, finding your resources, organizing, doing all kinds of creative detail work behind the scenes. And if the workshop goes so smooth that everybody leaves and says, that was so easy and cool and memorable, and I had a good cry, or I had a good laugh, or I had some things that shifted for me, you know it's a good workshop, right? If people leave and say, damn, my pieces didn't stick together, or, you know, they're focusing on some kind of details like that, then I haven't done a good job as an organizer, right?
If they're focusing still on the aesthetics.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want them to do that, right? So having given you a little bit more of the background, I'll just talk a little bit about, so 2020, what the fuck? 2021, joy with a question mark. Because for many people, it will take more than a year to get over this whole loss of 8 months of a job, or maybe they'll still be unemployed 8 months into the future because there's still lockdowns going on all around, right? So we don't know. So this is going to be a space for the women to individually and collectively kind of get some of those questions and discussions and processes and explorations. And what I'm also really keen on is when we do an art event or project or workshop, or I like to give sort of a homework. The point is to get people started, and between that session and the second session, that's when they might do the real gelling of the work, right? They may really wake up from a dream and go, oh, I wanted to put this in my art piece, or oh my god, I hadn't thought of it this way before. Wow, am I ever angry? And they express something, right? And go, yes, that was good. We helped them to express something. So I was showing you the mailboxes. So this is sort of the next stage for my own piece. I've put it all, I did stripes in pink, because pink for me is a color I've always been a little bit averse to. It's kind of like a vulnerable, girly color, little girly. And I've never really felt a little girly, but I do right now. I feel like a mouse. I feel very vulnerable. I feel frail. I feel worried about the year ahead. And the expression I've been using that is very much a tagline for 2020 for me, emotional incontinence. I just start crying. I open the fridge and I see blueberries, and I remember blueberries were my husband's favorite food, and I'll start crying. So I've never been emotionally incontinent before, but for the last 9-10 months I've been emotionally incontinent. It's possible I will be next year. Emotional incontinent makes me feel very vulnerable. So I go to the grocery store and I see blueberries and I start crying. Or I see olives, or I see someone who says, "So how's Ken?" And I have to tell them, "Well, he died 9 months ago." So emotional incontinence is happening for me all the time. 2 days ago I had to close down the last of his plastic. He had 2 MasterCards and a Visa. And I made the phone call and then I started crying. So some lovely lady with a Visa or MasterCard kind of did, 3 minutes of therapy with me. Because they ask, well, when did he die? And can you tell me his social insurance number? And they ask questions like that. So, of course, it brings everything back to your mind, right? And it's also the closing down of an existence. Right? So I remain emotionally incontinent, and I've given myself permission to remain emotionally incontinent because I am a little mouse. And here's my mailbox. I have become 2 mouse. I'm 2 mices. This is my sort of pudgy, most soft mouse with little undefined features. Just a mush of a mouse. And I made myself a nice little nest. And I feel very satisfied about this nest. And relatedly, with the emotional incontinence, you'll see my little box says "fuck work." So underneath the little mouse in her nest, it says "fuck work." And I'll tell you more about that in a subsequent video. And then here, I have another mouse. This is more my muscular mouse. This is kind of like my brave mouse. And this mouse has a nest that's got some green in it. So it's got like the leaves, a little bit of hope and positivity and futurity. But it's still a little mouse. And I'm always finding little bits of his life. This was for his business cards. And this was something I bought him years ago. And he had it in his pocket all those years. And you can see it's kind of all worn. So I want to put something in there, maybe some notes or a love poem or something, I'm not sure yet with. And then something in the deepest, darkest part that again will show up for me in 2021. All of this is creating containers or spaces to express within. So it's not, again, a goal of, I better fill these up really quick. I couldn't throw this away, and I also couldn't use it for my business cards. And it's too raggedy to donate, so I just had to keep it precious. So it's going to stay in here with my little green nested mouse in here. And of course, one of the forces or resources in my life that have impelled me forward is my students. So the students, of course, are emailing me every day, and I'm teaching, and I'm mentoring and networking, and you two come every week or two and make a video with me. So I found this paper. You're like the back. You're holding my back up, right? I found this paper that has the hats that people throw off when they graduate, and that made me think of students. And this little mouse is running. When the students kind of keep me, dun, 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 and there's some flowers for the mouse to run to. And then here it says, "Don't stop until you're proud." So this is a sticky, and so this is turning out to be a little bit of positivity here at the back. So I'll update you in another week or 2 or a month about this whole art piece. And as I said, I made stripy pink all over it, and then it was too much. It was too much pink. I'm still in the white, which is kind of like a little bit numb, a little bit cold, a little bit not sure. And so then I also put a little bit of gold on it because I also know, of course, it was quite a privilege to be in love with someone for 18 and a half years, right? Not everybody even finds a person that they have to have special with, right? So it's all that and more. So the other thing I wanted to talk about today is, this is a particular kind of art technique again, where you take a book, any book, and rip it apart, rip out about half the pages or even 2/3 of the pages, and then you can recycle the book by gluing things inside the book and kind of using it like a journal. Some people do a process like this where they'll leave some of the words. So let's say there's a whole page of text and you pick out the words do, not cry. But you paint white over all the other words, so the whole page just says do not cry.
I've seen others like black it out.
Yes, but any color, again, every person's going to have their colors and what it means to them. But what I found was really matching for me was the idea of a journey and maps. So I happen to have some paper that has a whole bunch of kind of roads and passages and maps and so on. So I ripped the paper up and put it in here because I'm a little tiny mouse with a big fat ass on a peculiar unknown journey. That's kind of how I was feeling about it. So now what I'm also doing is I'm going to journal in here about my most life, my most feelings. And what I'm hoping for is that by the end of my journals, that's sort of in theory, the end of the year, right? So the end of 2021, 13 months from now, 14 months from now. So it could turn out any which way, right? Again, the thing is, I could maybe by the end of tomorrow, I'll have it all full of stuff, and then I could start a second one. It's whatever, right? But what I put here at the back is I think one of the things in art therapy too is first you express a whole bunch of stuff, but you also express what might be my intentions, my aspirations, my wishes. So you can saturate in all your problems, but then also start pondering at some moment what might be some solutions or some moments better or the wishes or the dreams, the joy, right? So I put this because if I was a little tiny mouse, I would love big flowers like this. Somehow it just seems right that I should have these, and I could nest in there or something, right? Or I could take petals and put them in my nest.
There's tons of like really cute photos of field mice falling asleep in flowers.
Yes, I've seen that on Facebook. I want to somewhere find that and print some of those and add them in here. Yes, that's cool. That's very cool. I know what you're referring to there. It's very cool. So the idea of a book, and again, a technical thing, sometimes these books can get really all crinkly when you start gluing all these things in. So use a glue that doesn't wrinkle your papers. And then I happen to be very fortunate because my husband lifted weights. So I have like 6 of these. But what you can do is put a hardcover book on top of this and then put this on top of that. Or stack 20 heavy books on top, put a milk carton or a rock or whatever you got. The goal being that after a day or two it lays all nice and flat. And then that's my technological tip for today. So one other thing that I'm going to be doing here, and I'm going to invite everybody else to do, is these bits and bits. I talked about the bits and bits last week, or in the last video. So I had said acorns would have meaning as my mouse, and then little presents. And then these ones are a different shape of acorn. These are 2 acorns with little leaves. So here's another technology thing. If you want to paint these, they can be all over and you get glue everywhere and everything. One of the things you can do is if you have 2-sided tape, you could put it on a flat surface, or just regular Scotch tape, kind of bend it here and then bend it across. And then you can paint on these things because they stick, and then you can pluck them off. What I use for the coloring here is I used just markers, ordinary markers. And here's another tip, my final one for today on technology, clear nail polish. Because again, it's very affordable. You could get the cheapest nail polish in the store. And you just put that when you're finished with your pieces, the nail polish holds things so they don't get smeary or gucky.
So kind of like a varnish.
Like a varnish, but it's very cheap and it's easy to do. Like, takes 3 seconds. Yeah, so those are going to be, in my case, I think, I'm going to put them in this pretty envelope. These are my hopes, and I'll make sure all the people in the workshops will have those. So all my little presents and acorns for 2021 are going to be in here, and maybe I'll just put it at the front or something of my little piece, okay? So I've shared with you the mailbox process, 3 or 4 little technology tips, the idea of process, there's using your double-sided tape and markers, clear nail polish, or if you want to be super fancy, I'm going to experiment maybe later today with on my presents. I happen to have some clear nail polish that has silver sparkles in it, and I'll put that on. So thank you for coming to the 3rd in our series, and we hope that you attend the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of these. And these are all just suggestions. There is no rules really for doing these kind of creative workshops, except that I would say a rule is only offer other people to do things that you yourself have done.
Or are willing to try.
Or willing to try. Not that they should even do the same things, but for the journal, let's say I've got this whole thing of a mouse, and we've been brainstorming earlier today. People could pick gorilla, buffalo. They could pick just a word. Their theme for 2021 is bitch, right? Like I say, I was not very assertive last year. Next year I'm going to be more assertive. It's my year of the bitch, or my year of whatever it is that they want to do. So all of this, my mouse idea and my the words, it's just opening a portal or a space, and every single person in the workshop, and you facilitators of workshops, you pick what's for you, but then invite everybody in the room to pick what's for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, happy everything, and hope you're doing creative stuff yourself tonight as you're watching this. Bye!